your best behavior now.
All right, let me drop my phone.
Yep. See you, Matt.
Here we go.
Oh, Lordy.
Oh, I didn't even bring my phone in here.
You don't need it. Do you need it?
I like to reply to comments.
Are you? Oh well. Are you fixing to go
Turn on
say
your
I'll be right
volume.
back?
No.
Just go get it. Just go get it, and we'll wait.
We're already live. Let's go.
It's fine.
No.
It's fine.
Nobody pull a joy. Make sure you got it on silent.
Let's do it.
He's always got to bring things up. Okay. All right. Here we go. Welcome to Creative Makers Podcast, episode 86. I'm Joey with Steel Blade Woodworks, and we have Matt with Wackey Works, Mustachio with the Wood Mustache, BJ with Byroms Custom Woodworks, and today we got the heavily talented Mr. Logan Newman from Newman Special Woodwork. How's everybody doing?
What's going on?
Hey.
Right.
Who tried to sabotage my intro? That's what I got to know.
It was Matt.
Who tried to sabotage my intro? You trying to make me mess up, weren't you?
How is that? I'm Mr. Innocent over here. I
trying to mess it up.
We'll go back to the videotape. Don't worry.
It was him. He looked right up at me when he did it because he wanted to throw me off. Yeah. How's everybody doing on this lovely Sunday evening?
It's March.
Yeah.
Well,
man, y'all are a lively bunch today.
It's cold as heck here. That's all I can tell you is it's been a cold, harsh day.
It has. It was like 50 degrees in Massachusetts on Saturday during the day, and then we dropped down. It got to like the teens, mid-teens last night. It's been cold all day.
Well, we were in the 80s today.
Hit 75 up here. So.
We got it up to 49 over here.
I got shorts on and everything. It's a wonderful thing.
Look at you. Look at me.
I had shorts on, but it was 49 degrees today. That was the high.
I'll take 49. You know what? We always laugh. I'm in Rochester, New York, so it's cold. And, you know, like in the fall when it hits 49, you're like, man, it's so cold out today. Now, if I hit 49 right now, I'd be in shorts. It was like, this is summer weather. I'm ready for this.
Exactly.
Yep. I was shoveling the ice off my patio yesterday because it was 50 degrees and just in a t-shirt. I'm like, oh, this is summer weather. Come on.
So it's kind of like a. Never mind.
All right.
Stop.
Well, let's get this started. So, Logan, we have a little segment at the beginning of all our podcasts where we talk about what's going on in our workshop. So let's do this real quick.
What's glue with you?
All right. And okay, Matt, calm down. Come on. All right. So since you are a guest, we're going to start with you. So what do you got going on in your shop this week?
Well, I just finished up a couple of things. I got a whole bunch packed up for shipping out. And right before we hopped on, I was finishing sanding up a couple pieces, got something off the laser, and then I've got this epoxy piece that I screwed up weeks ago and I started fixing, and I hated what it looked like, so I stopped fixing it and went back, and this is the story. This is what makes me angry about this thing, right? So I have a friend of mine from college. He calls me up. He lives not that far from me. He says, hey, come on over. I got these 2 slabs from another friend of ours from college. He goes, I want you to make it into a bar for me. I'm like, great. So I go and look at it. He goes, let's do blue down the middle. We'll do a river table. He goes, it'll look nice in a bar. I'm like, listen, man, you like golfing. Why don't we make this really cool? Why don't we do a green with the golf balls mounted in it, and we'll do clear over? He's like, that'd be amazing. I'm like, easy. No problem. It's going to look great. I got you. So I did a jig. I cut the golf balls in half because, you know, it wasn't thick enough to do the golf ball is, right? So I cut them in half on the bandsaw, and poured my first green epoxy and I started putting the golf balls in. And by the time I got from one end to the other, the epoxy, the bottom layer had started hardening where I could not implant it all the way. I was like, well, that's no good. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. I'm like, so I pour the deep pour clear middle coat, and it does not quite cover the golf balls at one end. Like they're out just a little bit. I'm like, well, that sucks. But you know what? When I put the tabletop on, it's going to be fine. It'll look great.
Famous
So
last words.
Tabletop on, yeah. So I put the tabletop on, and it wound up being thicker than I had anticipated. And then it's thicker than it should be for a tabletop. So it cured much faster. And the bubbles that, come about from the exothermic react, right, all went into the clear tabletop. And I was like,
Oh.
yeah. So I called him over. I said, listen, man, I got to show you this. He goes, oh, that sucks. Do you think you can clean it? He goes, I don't hate it, but it's not what I want. You can't quite, the words on the golf balls were just fuzzy enough. I was like, yeah, man, I got you. That's why I wanted you to come over. I'll clean it out. So the first bit I used, the first time I tried, I'm like, I'm just going to go in there. I'm just going to take it all out. And I used a chip breaker, half-inch chip breaker, and just tore it out. And it looked like crap. And I was like, all right, that's going to be bad. I know when I fill this with any epoxy, it's not going to look good. So I went back and cleaned it out. And then I sanded everything. And as I'm sanding this stuff, the pieces of the epoxy that were on the top started chipping out. So now I'm going, all right, well, now I got to just chisel it out. So I'm chiseling out pieces of epoxy. And I've got this half epoxy, half not. I'm like, all right, I'm happy with it. I'm going to start doing the tabletop, but I'm going to be safe. And this time I'm going to get a vacuum chamber, because that's what I heard the thing to do is vacuum chambers. So I talked to a couple people. I got a vacuum chamber. I put the tabletop epoxy in it. And here's the thing. The vacuum chamber is not the right thing to use for tabletop epoxy. It's too thick. It bubbles. Yep, it bubbles and it doesn't clear. It bubbles and it doesn't. So it was terrible. I'm like, this isn't going to work. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to pour a little bit and see what I do. So I poured a little bit, and it wasn't bad. And then I was pouring a little bit. I'm like, Jesus, this is going to take forever. And then I was like, you know what? I had a hole that I had a place where I didn't like it. So I cleaned it out. I'm like, I'll just put a little bit of tabletop and see how it looks. And I wound up and I could see like a line inside. Yeah. So Friday I came back and I spent about 3 hours, and I just went through and cleaned out the entire middle section, except for the golf balls. I had to go like in steps around the golf balls. And I'm going to do a deep pour tomorrow and just fill up like the whole hole. And I'm going to pray to God. I'm not a religious man, but I'm hoping he comes down and touches. And that's really
pray to the epoxy gods, man. Yeah.
So I don't know. That's what's on my bench is I'm trying to get everything done so I can get to that tomorrow, because I originally talked to this guy last summer. I picked up the slabs in Thanksgiving. I poured it first over Christmas.
Oh, dang, wow. It's been a long project.
You've been battling that one.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's definitely the worst it's ever happened. Like it's funny because I was talking to a friend of mine the other day from work, and I sat down to him. I'm like, I got to tell you the truth, man. I said, I am having a crisis of self-faith. Like I have confidence in my abilities. Joey, your intro is not true, but I have confidence in what I can do. And he's like, dude, you're my epoxy guy. Like, if I need something done with epoxy, I always come to you because I know. I'm like, right. I've had people call me to fix their stuff, and I can't fix this. And it's like, oh. So, hey, that's what's on my bed.
You'll get it. Yeah, you'll get it.
Got all the confidence in the world in you.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, let's go over to the man, the myth, the legend, the face of the podcast. And no, I'm never letting that go. Joey, what do you got on the bench this week?
I still have the Make What You Fear project that I haven't touched in probably
Okay, hold on.
Oh,
Everyone who's not surprised, raise their hand.
hey,
Is it still in the box?
Yep.
there you go.
Yep.
There you go. We got you. I got one special for y'all. The number 4 Wood River Plain.
Still in the box. That's
Because
right.
I knew you would bring it up. Still in the box. I haven't touched that because we've been doing the garden stuff. So that's what I've been doing all week, getting prepared for this weekend to start planting our garden. And it's what I did all weekend. Hopefully I can get some time to try to get that done. I'm starting to lose a little faith in myself that I will get that project completed, but I need to work some time in and get it done between work and that, it's going to kids extracurricular activities. It's just taking up a lot of time. So hopefully I can get that done. I would not, I don't want to be a mustachio but
Wait till the last minute.
ever since he's come on the show, it's just kind of I don't know. He's just a bad influence, and I've procrastinated quite a bit.
I can give you some lessons in last minute things, Joey. It's really easy. Really easy.
But yeah, Red Leg actually, I actually did open a box last night, and I put together a 1-row planter. So yes, I did open something in the shop and actually used it today. So anyhow, that has nothing to do with woodworking, but that's what I've been doing. You asked, I told you.
It has to do with creating. You're creating something.
I'm creating.
There you go.
They're either gonna come up or not. I don't know. Who knows?
There you go.
Find out. Mustache, what do you got going on?
Oh, let's see. Work. My full-time job's been crazy. Did a lot a few late nights past week, and I did get into my water shut off project.
Nice.
I have to replace the little frame and everything because it's been shot since I bought the house. So I have my water shut off under the slab in the corner of my shop, and it's the frame. I pulled the frame off last night, and I had to use the crowbar for one little area, and the rest I just pulled right off with my hands. It was just so rotten that it was very needing to be replaced. So
Yeah.
I spent almost an hour last night looking for my grinder, and I spent another hour today looking for my grinder and picking up in the shop. I don't know if I loaned it to someone or if I just put it in an impossible place to find. So I texted a buddy of mine. He's going to be in my area tomorrow during the day. So he's going to let me borrow that, and I can get, I just have a little spot of the slab that's kind of poking out, and a copper pipe that's dead and needs to be cut out. So once I can get that done, I can reframe that with some pressure treated and make a little box around my water shut off and button that up, and then finally get into revamp my shop because my lumber's everywhere. It's a disaster in there right now. And Matt and I kind of work together on redesigning a smoother layout in there. So yeah, that's my can of nuts.
Do you ever feel like when you're talking about another Matt that you feel like you're talking about yourself in third person? Matt and me did this.
Sometimes. Sometimes. What about you, Matt? What did you do?
I've been 3D printing like crazy because I got I don't know, a wild hair at my butt. I've never ever put out my own stuff. I got a bunch of memorabilia. I got a bunch of stuff like that. I've never displayed it. And been with my wife for 26 years, be 27 years this year. And I've never displayed anything that I had ever. And so it's got a wild hair and said I'm going to do it. So I started organizing everything, getting filament racks built behind me here. And then the other one is trying to fix a mess up that I've been trying to figure out what I did wrong. I have a flattening jig. It's a 9-foot, but 9x5 flattening jig with a router on top. It's got a big thing on it. And we did a slab, and it was for the coffee table. And it was a resin pour. It was a big old resin pour that we did. 5x26
Wow.
is what it is. And got maple burl in it all throughout it. We stabilized everything just by painting it on there and letting it, cure out. And we poured it, and everything went great. I mean, we had a couple bubbles here and there, but it was, just they ended up looking pretty cool where the bubbles were. It's like a little volcano kind of thing. Kind of like it was pretty cool. I wasn't going to bother with that. Flattened it, and then we sanded it all down. Got it to I think 10,000 grit, which is way more than what I needed to do.
Dang.
But wanted wanted to be clear.
Yeah.
It's got a blue bottom and stuff, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, something's wrong. Something's wrong, and I can't figure it out. And one side is 1.25 inches thick, which is my thickness I was going for. And the other side is it's 1 7/8 inches. And I'm like, what did I do here? And I couldn't figure it out. And I went finally today. I figured it out when I looked at the flattening jig, and I went 1, 2, 3, and so I have stacks where I can move it. I can adjust it so if I have thicker stuff on there. And I went 1, 2, 3 on one side, and 1, 2, 3, 4 on the other side. And I went, "You've got to be kidding me!"
You're riding uphill.
Yeah, and I did it for the whole thing.
Oh.
Oh wow.
So, yeah. So
And
I
you
figured it
this
out
after you sanded. You got the final sand.
Yeah.
Oh.
And so my wife is telling me it's not going to be a problem. It's not a problem at all.
Just for it in the legs.
But that's exactly what she said. But the legs are exactly like they're detailed. So then I would have to adjust for it in the framing underneath. And I'm like, anybody that walks in is going to go, "Hey, that's wrong." Because I know me. And so it's going to go back. It's going to go on the CNC, and I'm going to flatten it. So all that work I put into it, I'm going to stop and do that. I got it all set up ready to go.
I thought it was going to be a color thing.
No, it's blue, so it's not a color thing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
No, I just counted when we did it. I remember saying we were going to go to 4, and then on the other side, for some reason, I went to 3. I can't remember, but I was like in a hurry.
Yeah.
So instead of just, instead of going over and checking what I did, I was and just went to town on it. So yeah, it was a hurry up and shoot yourself in the foot moment. So, but I wanted to figure out why I did what I did, and now that I know why,
Because you did it because you weren't paying attention.
exactly, 100%.
You should have just left it in the box, and you'd have been okay.
Exactly, but I'd
You
already
can't mess stuff
unpacked
up
it.
if you don't open it. Yeah.
That's true.
See,
Can't
you're
mess
a better
up.
man than I am. You're a better man than I am, though. If stuff for the house, if it messes up like that, my wife's like, "I don't care. It's done. Just put it." We have an epoxy coffee table that was a screw up. In that this person ordered a dining room table from me, and it was not a big dining room table, like. And she wanted black epoxy with blue along the sides. I was like, great. So I did this. I sent her the picture. She goes, "I hate it." Like it's exactly what you asked for. Blue, black with blue. She says, no. I didn't want the colored blue, black. I want it to be flat black, matte. That's what I said. I was like, that never occurred to me because why would you do that?
Yeah.
So my wife said, "That's fine. Make her another one. I like this one. We're going to keep this. This will make a great coffee table." So I made it into a coffee table at the same point, and I put it in our house. And then that summer, I made this beautiful, box elder coffee table with a waterfall edge that I took to an art show, and it sold immediately. It sold the first day. So I was like, well, I sold that. I got to have something out here so I could show it off. So I brought our coffee table. So it was 90 degrees. The coffee table is black epoxy with walnut. And I'm sitting there.
Oh, no.
I already know
You
what.
guys know
I know where you're going with this.
You said,
I'm talking to somebody, and all of a sudden I hear this pop. And I was like, that was the coffee table. As soon as I heard it, I knew what happened. And I walked over and I put my hand on that epoxy, and it was so hot.
oh yeah.
And right at the seam between the walnut and the epoxy, about 3/4 of the way, half the way.
Mm-hmm.
So I brought it back, and my wife was there, and she's like, "That sucks." I was like, "Well, you know what? I can fix it. I'll clamp it up. I'll put some epoxy."
Yeah.
That was in 20. It might have been before COVID. There's a good chance it was pre-COVID, and she has not let me fix it. She's like, "No, it's fine. Like there's a tiny little lip. If you push something across, it'll hit it. It doesn't stand out. I can see it." And she's like, "No, I don't care. You have other stuff that's more important. This is fine." I think she's just afraid that I'm gonna screw it up and then have to take it all the way down.
Yeah, we've got a table that just holds pictures, and it's an elm slab that I bought some cheap legs off of Amazon for it, and I got it flat enough to put it in the house, just so I think we're doing a housewarming party or something. I don't know. My wife just needed this table to put all these pictures on. So I was like, I'll get it done now, and then once I get all my stuff in for my flattening jig, I'll really flatten it. Yeah, we moved into this house 5 years ago. Yeah, but it looks fine. Yeah, it works. But yeah, but as far as me in the shop this week, honestly, I'm kind of where what Mustache was saying. Work, the day job just kicked my butt, and just by the time I got home at night, didn't really want to get out in the shop. And but today I got out. My daughter has a school project where you have to use a simple tool. So screw or whatever, screw, pulleys, all that stuff. So, and the irritation I have with the project is that tool just has to be a part of it. It doesn't have to be a function, or it doesn't have to function as that tool. So she comes up with tic-tac-toe with darts, but using instead of a dart tip, we're using a drywall screw. So the screw's the involvement, and you have to get it approved by the teacher. So she writes up what she's going to do, and the teacher's like, "Yep, that works. You're using the tool, in the project." I'm like, "Okay." So I'm gonna.
We're making that a blow dart.
Well, the third graders, and my daughter.
I thought you were going to say, "Oh, here's this product from the '80s. It's called lawn darts."
There you go.
So
wow!
To get the templates, the idea to design the dart that I laser cut, I ended up looking for lawn dart templates or whatever, so I could do a 2-part cut, and then they mesh together. So it's an old fashioned, what are those older style rocket ships? And cut it out of acrylic, and then got out, the weld bond, I forget what it's called, but it's used for gluing acrylics together. And I'll just sand down the nose of it, glue a screw to it, and call it a day. And I made a not a 6-sided box, but a 5-sided box, cut 9 holes in the top, and we're going to get balloons that sit in each one of the holes. So I think it'll be cool.
Yeah.
It's got to work one time. That's the only thing, is it has to get through one test, and then we're good. So I'm like, the rockets are either going to explode when they hit the ground because they're 3 mil acrylic. The screw tips are going to break off. So as long as we pop a balloon, I'll mark it as a good job.
Telling you, drywall screw, about 1 5/8 inch, piece of duct tape, some sawdust inside of it so it makes a funnel. Put it in the back of a piece of conduit, cut it off flat, pull the sawdust out. Work perfect.
Yeah.
Not that I know.
I've got a blow dart gun here. It's not the legal hunting size, but yeah, I've got a. Because I didn't know there's still places in the world you can hunt with a blow dart gun.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways,
It's
Mr.
crazy the
Mustache,
things we had. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No. I was going to move on to something else. Say what you're going to say.
I was just saying it's crazy the things that they used to give us, to play with back when we were young. When he brings up yard darts, I'm like,
the lawn.
can you imagine something like that coming out nowadays? That's crazy. I forgot all about that till you said that.
Well, think about this. Y'all remember the game? What was it called? Like it was a doctor game where you reached
Operation.
The first version of that would shock you when you did it. They made it better in the 80s, but it was like the first version
plugged into a wall. Yeah, 110. Yeah. I saw it. I think it was a TikTok. Some guy made a life-size operation, and that's what it would do. And he didn't tell his friends what it would do. They just thought it would buzz, and so they've got freaking the big metal kitchen tongs trying to reach in, and they're like, "Why would you make this? This is so stupid." And he's like, "Oh," and they reach in and hit the side, and they all start jerking. It's like, oh, that's so mean. But I would love to do that.
Well, you guys, when you were kids, did you ever throw bottle rockets at each other?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We built launchers with PVC pipe.
Roman candles. We'd shoot Roman candles at each other.
Yeah.
That was like part of the deal is have war. I mean, that was when the families would get together. Everybody was already come locked and loaded, and we were having wars. Hell, it caught my sister's fur coat on fire.
Oh,
God. My dad had to go tackle her. She was running ball of flames going across the yard, and he went and tackled her and pulled it off. It didn't go well for us after that, but
Where are the one pump BB gun fights that you'd have with each other until somebody got mad because they got shot and they ended up pumping like 7 times and shooting you with it?
It was great when they finally came out with paintball guns because that kind of took away the sting. Because it would be like some of us didn't have a BB gun, so it was a pellet gun, and then it was like you only get one pump on that thing.
Yep,
and nothing above the chest. Yeah. Oh yeah. Crazy. Surprised we're still alive.
That was the benefit of having a brother that was 7 years younger than you. When we got our first paintball guns, I could convince him to run across the field and see if I could hit him at 30, 40 yards away. And I got really good at leading him. That paintball gun, you just kind of walk it in. Yeah, it was all fun and games until Dad gets home and he's like, "What are y'all doing?" Told him, he goes, "All right, well, you run. Let me see if I can hit you." It's like, "Oh no, I'm out of CO2. The guns are dead. We can't do it anymore." They just happened to run out when you got home, Dad.
Yeah, let me double check that.
Yeah. Well, Mustachio, you want to thank somebody?
Yes, I
or some
do.
People.
Yes, I have a few people I would like to thank for their Patreon membership. I would like to give a shout out to Mama T and Keith Drennan from Blackthorn Concepts. We thank you for your membership. And if anyone would like to hop on and help support us, we would greatly appreciate it. And there is a link on our Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
We've got a pretty cool giveaway coming up that is Patreon exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to get in on that before June 8th, is that right? Before June 8th.
Well, that one is going to be open for everybody in the chat, right?
Oh, no, I'm just saying. But
But we also have another one coming. Yeah.
So if you want to join up, show us some love, get on that Patreon, you'll get entered in to win something pretty cool. So
yeah, we've got some good stuff in ready to good companies willing to donate, and we got some good stuff. Hopefully we get a few more, and it's gonna be great for that show. So anyhow.
Well, all right.
So let's get to the real deal while we're here. And Mr. Logan, why don't you tell us just a little bit for the people that don't know you, what you do, how you got into it? Give us a little bit of a background on you.
I make things and sometimes I sell them.
I like saws.
Is that good? Is that enough?
Perfect.
So I know Matt. I know Joey. You guys have. Sorry, the other Matt.
His Matt Chew up there.
Matthew,
Yeah,
Mustache. I respond to many things.
I know you guys have seen that I've been doing this Thursday night live thing, and it's funny because I went to dinner with my wife the other night, and she says to me, she has this really good friend. My wife is an amazing artist. She draws beautifully. She does plein air stuff, and this is with I don't even know what it is. Not acrylic. I forget what this stuff is, but they go out and they draw and paint and everything. And so she's got friends that she does this with, and she's like, oh, her and her husband. Listen, she goes, they love the origin story. They love hearing the origins. And my friend said to my wife, she's like, what's Logan's origin? And my wife goes, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know how he got started doing this. I'm like, babe, you were there. I made stuff in the house. But where did you really start doing this? And we were talking about it. And the first thing I ever made and sold, I was probably 13 years old, and I made some business card holders. And my uncle was ear, nose, and throat surgeon in Miami, and he had a couple offices. And happened to talk to him, and I said, yeah, I've been making some stuff and playing around in the shop. My dad didn't really do woodworking. He had stuff, but he was not a woodworker by any means, or he still isn't. And so I made some business card holders that he bought, and I was like, oh, that was kind of neat. And it's always stuck with me. And my wife pointed out that, having somebody believe in your ability to do something really does give you the power and the belief in yourself. So that was really the first thing I made. And then, as you get older, you're like, okay, well, I need this. So I made that when I was in the Navy. My first house, my first apartment living off base, I had 2 mattresses, and I didn't have a headboard. So I didn't have any place to put my alarm clock. And I desperately needed to make sure the alarm clock was near me, because I had already gotten in trouble for being late, because we would go out to like 3 o'clock in the morning, and then we had to be at work at 6:30. So, make sure that the multiple alarms were near me. And so I had a headlamp and everything. So I needed a headboard. So I went to Lowe's and I bought a couple of boards, and I sanded them, and I bought some mending plates, and I screwed them together, and I put them on top of cinder blocks, and I made myself a headboard. And you're like, okay, every time I needed something like that, I was like, yeah, if I could throw it together, let me see. And then as you get, and like everyone else, as I got older, I started making stuff. And then what I've found the common theme is, you make something and somebody goes, wow, I like that. Would you make me one? And you're like, yeah, I'd like to do that. And so the next part, the big thing for me was, we had friends who owned a wine bar, and they said, we're going to do a craft night. We're going to have like 6 different people come in. Will you make some cutting boards and bring them in? I was like, yeah, sure. So I made some stuff. Did not go well there, because that wasn't what the wine bar was known for. So I wound up putting them on Facebook, and some woman contacted me and said, hey, I saw that you have these. Can you meet me at a parking lot? And she wound up being the artistic director of the Arts at the Gardens for Sonnenberg Gardens, which was it was a juried art show. She's like, we've got people doing cutting boards and stuff, but your stuff is different. We'd love to have you in. And so I started doing that. And for years I did that. I got like best in show or whatever, best in woodworking, or like, it was really cool. You get like, you're like, oh, look at me. I got a new word. I got a new something.
Got a little chest pop out there, huh?
But really, I mean, that's where I started, and just making stuff that I wanted and people buying it. And, and then the last couple of years have been a little bit different, but that's my story.
There you go. Cool.
Nice.
But now we're quiet.
Yeah, I think BJ's mic went away.
It was muted. Sorry.
Oh,
Yeah, we're professionals here, right?
Exactly.
exactly.
Everyone
you.
was blown away by the excitement of that story that they all just went, "What? Are you done yet?"
So I have a question off that story. So do you still just make what you want and then people buy it, or do you make custom stuff for people that they order it and then you make custom?
Well, I think so. The last couple years has been very different. I came up with a couple designs, and I know, and again, I don't know how much you guys know, but I guess I'll just go into it and say it because it's weird. I don't know. It's always weird to say something and feel like I'm talking to people who already know it. You know what I mean? But
I don't know nothing.
yeah, that's good. That makes it easier. So I've always made stuff and I prefer to do custom pieces, but I have a couple of things that I like making. Custom to me is easier because I don't have to carry inventory. If somebody wants to buy something, I'll make it. We'll figure out exactly what it is and it goes into their house. I don't do shows anymore because I don't have time to, but I guess it was about April of 2023. Ethan Abramson called me up and he's like, "Hey, listen, I'm starting a company with this guy, or this guy's starting a company. I'm coming on and helping him. The goal of this company is to be to be the maker, the manufacturer between a maker and people who want to buy from him. So if you have stuff that you want to sell, but it's too much for you, the goal is we'll make the stuff and ship it out. We'll take care of everything and give you a commission. But we're not doing any advertising. It's all on you." And that was we CNC that. And I said, "That sounds really cool." I'm like, "But I don't have anything really that I'm selling. I don't have anything that I can see, being big." And really, he's like, "Dude, you're an idiot. You've got a lot of different things that you use that people have said these are really cool. You could be selling those." So we started off. They started with my flattening jig, which is it's a tabletop flattener for a trim router. It sits on a table. Like the thing is, for me, I started making it, or I started using it because I would do templates and fill. I'd cut things out on a cutting board. Yeah. It was a Rochester logo, which is a Flower City logo, and then I would cut it out with this template. And I would fill it with epoxy. And, it takes, if you overflow it, it takes forever to sand it, or it gums up with sandpaper. So, and I didn't have a CNC when I was doing this. So I started just using this little thing. And why set up a giant flattening sled when I can just put something on a tabletop, slide it across and move it up and down? And so when I remember when I first showed that, people were like, why didn't I think of that? That's the coolest thing ever. Yeah, it's easy.
I thought the same thing. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, it's easy. It works great. So and the funny thing is that I keep wanting to do a video about this. It started out as a dado jig. That's what that actually was. I had made it originally to cut dados. And when I was looking for something to do, I was like, oh crap, that would be perfect. Let me use that. And then the next iteration was an adjustable one. Anyway, so they started selling that for me, and it sold. They sold a bunch of them, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I mean, reasonable amount. And then they're like, well, what else would you like to do? I said, well, I've got this portable router table that, I use my trim router for. It's nice because it's space saving. I put it on the edge of my workbench. They're like, yeah, that's perfect. And we worked on a design for a fence where you can input the vacuum hose. So that's really important to me, making sure we had everything. And then we added in the bench topper, which is a micro jig thing. And this was, to this day, kills me. So the Thursday before New Year's, Ramon Valdez calls me up and he's like, hey, what are you going to do now that we CNC that is closing down? Because that was the name of the company. And I said, what are you talking about? He's like, you didn't get the email? I'm like, no, I didn't get an email. What are you talking about?
You didn't get the memo?
Yeah. And I did not. Apparently, they left me off. So they decided after about 6 months they were closing down because there was about 8 people, and Izzy Swan was in there, Jess Crow, like all these big name
Yeah.
people, but they all didn't have stuff that they were selling immediately. And the goal of We CNC that was that we as the maker would show our stuff and sell it. And
Okay.
these guys weren't really selling their stuff. They weren't pushing it. They weren't doing anything. You know, they the way their stuff is set up, they mainly people will come to them and buy stuff, you know, off to the side. It's like it runs itself. And so I was selling the most stuff, like, and they told me, they're like, at one point, not at one point, but your stuff was keeping our lights on, but my stuff alone was not enough to employ 3 people and run a CNC. Like it was not selling, right?
Yeah.
So I said, all right, well, let me just figure it out. And it happened that at that point I had a Inventables X-Carve, and my Onefinity was coming. So I was like, all right, my original plan had been that I would sell the Inventables and set up the Onefinity where that one was. But with everything happening and figuring, okay, I'm going to just start making these myself, I was like, I'm going to run both of them. So I took over a part of the shop. You know, I'm in a 2-car garage, finished up with that. This is kind of funny because when I got the Onefinity set up, my X-Carve Z-axis died, just stopped. And I was like, I don't care. I had no time to deal with it, you know, the belt drive and everything. And so I did a video on Instagram and YouTube, and I said, hey, you know what? This happened. Oh, and in the midst of all of that, like I was like, I talked to a local company. This to this day amazes me. I talked to a friend of mine who they're in charge of, God, I hope this isn't boring. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. No,
you're good, man.
Keep going.
I'm sorry.
Go.
So I talked to this friend of mine who he and his business partner, they run a trucking company. They do like, they don't run the trucking company, but they set up the schedules and they work with UPS and FedEx and they do all the different stuff and all the logistics. Okay. And so they had too much. I honestly think that at one point they had too much money, so they got into woodworking. They're like, we don't know what to do. This is running itself. Let's start something. So they started this business, and then they hired these guys, and one of the guys bought into the woodworking business, and the other 2 workers who were in there were also getting paid by it. So I talked to them and I said, I'd like to have you make my stuff. Let's figure out a price. Now, at this point, I was selling the flattening jig for, I think, $59.99, and the router table was probably $65, something like that. So they came back to me and they said, absolutely, this would be great. Now, the original plan was that I would buy the Baltic birch, they would get it delivered, but I would pay for it for our first setup to see how it would go. And then I would come and pick it up and bring it home and sand it and pack it and sell and ship it out, right? They wanted $72 for the portable router table and the fence per piece. Like $72 just to put it onto the CNC, cut it off, and put it in a box that I was picking up.
Wow.
The router tables they wanted, I can't remember exactly. It was either 56 or like 51, somewhere in there. But either way, it was the most ridiculous price I'd ever heard.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, there's no way. I refuse to. I would not have worked. I wouldn't have even tried to sell it at that price because it was not something I would ever pay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I said, and I did the video and I said, hey, you know what? Listen, this company went out of business. This one gave me a ridiculous price. Screw it. I'm going to do it myself. And so I put that video out, and I only put that on Instagram, I think, and maybe Facebook, because they whatever.
Yeah.
In 24 hours, I sold out of everything I had listed on Etsy, and the thing was, I had listed 30 of them, thinking I'm going to sell 5. I literally had plans. I'm like, I'm going to do a giveaway this weekend, get some exposure, some people will see it, thinking that's what was going to happen. I in 24 hours, I sold out of everything I did not have made. So over the course of the next 2 weeks, because I literally only made a couple, I got it figured out, and I'm like, nope, not going to bother with it. My wife and I was running the CNC constantly. She was sanding stuff. We got everything out, and we quickly went, I can't do this.
Yeah.
It was an incredible amount of work, but not only did I sell out of that stuff, and this is the weird thing, not really weird, I guess it makes sense. I sold out of those, and then I sold out of things I hadn't sold for years, and I sold like all this stuff I owned on Etsy that I was like, I don't even know how to make it anymore. Sold. And it was like, no.
Did that IG video go viral?
Yeah.
Oh, and that contributed to some of the sales and stuff.
Yeah. Well, so after that, I said, okay, I can't, I went on there and I said, I'm sorry, I'm sold out. I don't know I got to look at the next steps. And somebody messaged me and goes, you should start taking emails of people who want to be on a waiting list. So I set up a Google form and I posted it a couple places, and it got up to about 600 people putting their email forward saying, we'd like to be notified when you start selling them. So actually at Workbench Con last year, I finally hooked up with a guy because I was trying to find somebody to make this stuff for me and who could do full fulfillment. And I hooked up with a guy last year, and he's been taking over it, and he's made all of the flattening jigs and all of the router tables. I'm still doing my bench toppers, which is hard because Baltic birch is hard. And right now I've got 7 of those out. And thankfully now I found out this is weird. Microjig actually, as part of their intellectual, IP, right?
Yeah.
The Microjig grid is part of their IP. So even I was selling the bench topper without saying it. I said it was compatible with Microjig.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, when I had a meeting with them last in December, and they're like, we haven't said anything, but that's part of our IP. That grid system with the dovetails like that, that's part of ours. I was like, oh. So what's interesting is we posted that same video this year at the beginning of January. In January, after that video, again, it went viral again. And I had probably another 500 sales. January was my biggest month. Dang. We sold probably 20, I want to say $27,000 or $30,000 worth of product. It just between January and the first week of February. Dang. It was crazy. It was nuts.
Dang.
Wow.
I know. I'm still blown away by it. So talking about, the question was, what do you sell? What are you doing now? So now it's very weird to me because I got onto Instagram always thinking I am going to post pictures of these beautiful pieces of furniture that I make and with these unique designs, and people are going to buy it. And then, as time goes by, you realize that that's the people that are seeing your stuff are you guys, right? Yep. Fellow woodworkers, and you're not buying my shit. You might look at it and be like, that's cool. I'm going to make my own.
Right.
Yeah.
And so my whole trajectory of Instagram and my making career has really changed from what I expected 4 years ago.
Yeah. Is that kind of like taking you into just selling the plans now, just because of the workload and making it, advertising it, and then here are some plans? Because I know you do that as well, right?
I do. I sell the plans for a couple of them. Now, the problem is, I would like to sell the router table or the flattening jig plans, but last year I signed a contract to do a book on router jigs and tips and tricks, and And part of it was that I would not sell plans that might be in the book. They're like, in the contract, it was, you already have stuff on Etsy. We're not going to, there's nothing we can do about that. But,
Going forward.
Yeah.
Yep.
The problem is that I was supposed to have the final draft to them in February of this year, and I'm nowhere with it. Like I've written the first part, and I've got like 2 or 3 sets of plans, but I still have like 4, 5, 6 plans I got to make. And the problem is, and you guys will appreciate this, it's super easy to set up a camera and videotape yourself doing something.
Yeah.
It's really hard to set up a camera to take pictures. Right?
Yeah.
So you got to set up a timer and go click.
Yeah.
Okay, and change, click.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
It's so hard. So I need to have somebody in here to take pictures. Take pictures for me.
Wow.
Well, we had a question in the chat. Let's throw this up here. So how much time do you spend designing your products before heading to the shop?
This we were talking about this the other night. It's kind of funny because I don't like recording myself making a jig, because most of the times when I'm making a jig, I'm like, all right, let me see. I got this. Is this going to go? I'm just going to like it. It looks like, again, like I was building in when I was 14. There's nails sticking out. There's screws. You know what I mean? Like you're just trying to figure it out. And okay, I got this idea. I know how I want it to go. Let me just slap it together and see if it works. And and once it's done, maybe then I'll go back and redo it. So a lot of times I'm doing it as I go along. To be fair, like that was before. Now I'm a little bit better. I just did a video, I think, this weekend. I don't know, about a couple weekends ago, about this Dremel jig that I did.
I haven't seen that. I'll have to look that up.
Do you know who Happy Life Wood is? The guy who does like, he's a scroll saw artist. He does like jerseys and everything else out of wood. No paints.
Yes. And he does different woods for that color or whatever.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
I think I have seen that guy.
I guarantee you, everybody, once you see it, once you look and see his stuff, you're like, oh, that guy, yeah. Like he did shoes out of wood. It's beautiful stuff. So so he was over here, we were talking about something, and he's like, yeah, for this new jersey I'm doing, I want to drill, I'm going to do each jersey hole. Like, you know how like on sweatshirts and jerseys, like there's the little individual holes for the. I was like, dude, that's a lot to try and hold your Dremel and just go to each one. I was like, hold on. I got an idea. And I started talking through it, and he had to come over the next day. And by the time he came over the next day, I had programmed the CNC, cut it out, and I had 3D printed the piece to hold the Dremel, and like just figured everything out. And and I've actually sold 2 of them now. It's just, I don't know, it's just, oh shoot, I forgot to take pictures of the new one. Oh well.
That's fine.
But I mean, like I changed the design slightly from what I did the first time to the second time. And again, I'll change the design again as I build it and put it together. But so I don't spend too much time planning them. It's more I need something. How can I make it work? Mm-hmm. What do I have? That's the other part of it. It's like, what do I have here that I can use, as opposed to, I need this or that. And
I played that game before, where I'm just like, I have like this many board feet of this, and I can use some of that, and then use some of that, and I need to get some plywood or something.
I've got this scrap piece of Baltic birch plywood, and I'm like, man, I think I can fit these on here. Let me get it. I'm gonna tape down this one piece, and I'll get it.
I never liked this cabinet. Let me go and take this thing apart.
Yeah. Hey, that's what you're making me do, Matt.
There's a question in there, I think, BJ, from Mr. Sullivan.
Jason. Yeah,
What do you say?
Where's it
a
at?
good friend from up north.
I'll share it.
Hey, buddy. How are you, Jason?
Says Logan, how is the extra space working out from expanding last summer?
Yeah. So like we were talking about when I first got in the shop, we moved to our house and we knew I was going to have the garage. I had basically it's a 2-car garage and I had a bay and a quarter. And the quarter was over here beside me, and that was my wood storage, actually where my new wood storage is. And it got crowded, but I had this one bay and I was good. And then I realized, okay, I need a little bit more space. So I took over just a little bit more. And then last year, with everything that happened, I took over the rest of the garage. So now it is completely opened up. And it's like, oh, it's such a happy place. It's, it's like, I like being here. Now I've got my Mira 7, my Eon 60-watt laser, and sitting next to it is my Onefinity, and it's just I've got space and tools. I'm loving it.
So then going into the tools, what is your favorite tool in your shop, and why isn't a scroll saw?
I have
Come on, JP.
But you know what? I've actually never used a scroll saw.
Me neither. Me neither. Well, I have used it. It's popped open a door for me one time.
There you go.
Oh, that's
Nice.
That's what mine's used for.
So I was at last year. I went to IWF in Atlanta, and afterwards we went to Highland Woodworking, and I saw the most beautiful scroll saw, the Pegasus scroll saw, and those are like
that's what I have. Yep,
Yeah,
that's
dude.
what I have.
Oh my God, it's beautiful. I honestly, I've never used a scroll saw, and I wanted to very badly. Just seeing that, although I didn't answer the other part of the question.
Yeah,
The guy at Rockler had one out there. They had it on display when I was there once, and we were walking by to go look at something, and he's like, "Would you like me to demonstrate this scroll saw?" And I said, "Is there something wrong with you? Are you feeling sick?"
Do I look like I use a scroll saw?
So just keep on moving. We just won't get into this conversation. I can tell you, I can tell you if your air condition goes out, just grab that thing and prop open the door. It works perfect. That's what it's good for.
God.
So
well, there goes half our followers.
Logan, what is your favorite tool in the shop?
I honestly man, I hate to say it. I think it's a trim router. I love.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's versatile. I use it for so many different things. It scares me still at times. Like because how dangerous and how bad it can be.
Oh yeah.
But there's so many things you can do. The worst thing that ever happened was back at that point where I was using the templates. I had a metal template. I had a guy make one because I hit the plastic one and I was like, let me get a metal one. I'll be good. And instead of turning the router off and then lifting it up, I was like, I'm just going to lift it off out of the template while it was running. So it hit the side of it and it jumped out of my hand. And this is why I like my rigid router. This is the only thing. I don't know if the only thing. So as it jumps out of my hand, the cord is going through my hand, and I close my hand on it. Don't ask me why. So the centrifugal force of the blade, the bit going, So it spins.
No.
So it gets my shirt, and it starts coming in. Right. The thing about the rigid routers is the on-off switch is on the top. It is a button on the right. So as it's coming towards me, I'm like, no.
Bad router.
So it still scares me because I know that stuff can happen to anybody, even when you think you're paying attention. But it's still my favorite.
I will say I do miss I had an old Craftsman router that had a trigger on it that you had to hold down. And yeah, I know the convenience of just being able to turn on a switch and go, but man, I do miss with a router. I just feel like that's a tool that, like a scroll saw, or not a scroll saw, a circular saw. You let go of that trigger, it turns itself off. I just think
like
that would
almost
be-
almost like a surf prep or
yeah, just put it. The tool like that should have essentially a dead man switch on it. When your hand comes off that switch, it shuts itself down.
You know what always gets me on the trim router is it's this pinky. I always tend to grab. I got big hands, and when I grab, I'm not paying attention, or if I'm going around a corner, and my finger will go into that slot and hit the
collet,
the collet every time, and I'm like, God dang it, and it's like it gets me almost every freaking time.
Well, I do think that those of us with normal size hands it works well for, but if you have those large monkey hands, maybe you should just get a full size and just use it as a trim router.
Probably could,
Well, it'd probably be a lot easier, Joey, if you took it out of the box with your.
I knew that was coming.
But
I knew that was coming.
There you go.
I knew that was going to come.
So speaking of your Onefinity, which Onefinity do you have, and what do you think about that upgrade coming from the X-Carve to it?
So I never did a video on that. I always wanted to. I took some video before I sold it. Some people came from Syracuse, which are like an hour and a half away, and bought my old X-Carve, even without it working, and they were just getting into stuff. And I think that machine was great to start off on. It was actually my second CNC. My first one, I don't know. I'm willing to bet you've never heard of this. Bob's CNC.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Heard of it.
I actually have heard of that.
The rope one, or the string, cable one. Yeah.
No, it was plywood. It's Baltic birch plywood.
Oh yes, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
yes.
It was great. Listen, it was my first one. I bought it off Amazon. It was it was bigger than like the really cheap ones that you could buy from China. It was decent price. I liked it. I liked that a lot. But belts and plywood, and you have to worry about the screws coming loose, and so I wound up selling that and got an X-Carve for a really good price. The only reason I got it was because that same guy that I was talking about earlier, who had too much money, they had the X-Carve, they bought it fully tricked out, and then decided to upgrade to a Laguna, normal upgrade Laguna, 4 foot by 8 foot vacuum bed, everything. Normal upgrade, normal movement. So he came to me, he's like, well, listen, my partner and I, we're going to sell this. How much do you want? How much are you willing to spend? I said, honestly, I'm doing $1,500. I'm going to buy, I was planning on buying the next level up for Bob's. He's like, well, we bought it for 28, or they wanted 28, but he's like, we'll sell it to you for 15. I was like, okay. It had the dust boom. It had everything. So I liked it a lot. But the belts, you could really see the play with the belts whenever you're trying to do anything really fine. I was trying to do some 3D carves, and it's just moved too much. And the Onefinity, in my mind, there's no comparison. It's such a great machine. I absolutely love it.
Going over to the ball screws is just it was actually my first CNC. The Journeyman was my first CNC, and then I've upgraded to the Elite Foreman, and I love it. I haven't gone there yet. So I've got the Woodworker. It's 36. It's 36 by 48, whatever it is. So
that's what I've got.
And it fits perfectly in my space. It's not too big. I would love to have a bigger one, but I don't. Like it just would kill me. What I want more than anything, honestly, is I want the ATC. I've got the Pone spindle on here. I might upgrade to
me too.
Revert to the red line, but I want that ATC.
Yep.
That makes a big difference. That I don't have one, but I could only imagine being able to set your bits up and just push a button and forget about it.
Well, what I was doing tonight, I was cutting some bench toppers, and I've got. Ideally, I would use a 1/8 inch bit in a couple places. I would use the 1/4 inch compression bit, and then I got to end with the dovetail bit. So instead, I'm doing everything 1/4 inch. When that's done, it sat here until I changed over to the dovetail, and it's just it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It'd be a big time saver, honestly. I mean, just basically rinse and repeat. Just keep putting material on there. It's nice.
Now, Matt, I really want to do the Masso controller too. I don't have that.
Okay, so the Masso controller kind of messed me up, and I'll just tell I was used to the other controller. It was just plug and just go, and it just did it. Whatever I set up, it did. And the Masso is very technical. Everything in it is like I'm used to. Yeah, I did the Duoflacci and the thing with bobber, and I made it move over to there to that's what I was used to. Quite honestly, it just worked. And now it's like you got to have your and this, and your ducks are all in a row, and so it took me a minute to get used to everything's technical name. But now that I'm used to that, now it's just quick and simple. It is. You just gotta educate yourself, and I thought I could just jump into it, and just go, yep, whoo, and
now you're upsetting me. That's what I want to do. I want to jump in like Mario.
Exactly. It's me, Mario. But literally, it just took me a second to learn what everything was, and like before you had you did your proning your X and stuff, probing everything, and now it's like it's got all these different options of how to do it. And so you can do it this way and this way and this way. And if you do it, you got to set it up this way. And it's like, you got to educate yourself on it to be able to get doing it first. But once you do it once, then it's done. It's quick.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah. So, anybody else anything about the 150? Because I got tons more questions.
No, keep going. You're doing a good job.
Nope, I got nothing.
So tell me about your day job. Tell me what you do for the jobby job.
Well, I am a teacher, and I teach kids to. Oh wait, that's not how you wanted me to talk about it, right?
No, I want you to tell me exactly what's going on. But
I was kidding because we were talking about that earlier. So I consider myself very lucky. Now I'm a high school teacher. This is my 24th year teaching, so I've got
nice.
I get to retire sometime soon, but it's kind of hard for me. Like, I look forward to retirement so I can do woodworking more, but I'm also the only person who does what I do. So the story is, it's again, might be a little long, but I was an optician in the Navy 30 years ago. So I joined the Navy right in high school. I did not know what I wanted to do with my life. I'm like, I'm going to go to the Navy. I'll figure something out. I joined up to be a medic to make my mom happy, because nothing's better than a good Jewish kid who's in the medical field. So I went into that, and when I was in corps school, I was hospital corpsman school, which is medic in the Navy's talk. Sorry. I was supposed to be going to operating room technician. There was me and two other guys. We were all supposed to be going there after our corps school, and that's our C school. And they came to me and they said, yeah, we got some bad news. That class that you're supposed to be going into has filled up. Like, we've got 3 options for you. You can become a nuclear med tech, which meant that I would go down on submarine 6 months out of the year, making sure the radiation levels were okay, and doing medical, corpsman stuff. I could become a flight medic, who were really euphemistically called pecker checkers, because pilots were known for their sexual proclivities and therefore STDs, and so they were known to need help. And then they said, "Or you can become an optician." And I was like, "So my choice is the submarine, pecker checker, or lens crafter?" And they said yes. And I was like, "So this is during the first Gulf War." So again, that's a good indication of how old I am as well. And I said, listen, the rest of the class, a lot of them are going to the Marines. Can I go with the Marines? They said, we love your thinking, but no, you can't do that. I was like, here's the issue. I said, none of those sound good. And they said, that sucks. That's what you get to choose. You
Yeah.
choose or we choose for you.
For you, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
so I became an optician. I went to Yorktown. I went through, it was called NOSTRA, the Naval Ophthalmic Support and Training Activity, where I was trained as an optician. And then I started working there. And it was basically a factory. And then once a week, I would work at the clinic, working with the optometrist. And we would work with patients. And so I got out of the Navy after 4 years because that was not what I signed up for. And there was no way I was going to stay, doing that forever. And I went to college, and originally I was going to go for optometry school. And between my junior and senior year, I sat down in an office with an optometrist. And as he went, better number one, better number two, better number two, better number three. Is this better? Is this better? Is this better? Is this better?
Brian Regan.
I hate that so
I was like, this is not for me. I cannot do that. And so a couple of my friends went, you should try education. I said, you should try shutting up. That's a terrible idea. Me and kids, no. And they're like, you would love it. I said, no. So I got out of college. I went home to live with my parents, and I checked into a couple local schools, and I went to an education program that was literally 2 blocks from my house. It was interesting. It's Wilson College in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, which is, they're an all-girls school. And then they have a college for continuing education, which is everybody, right? So it's open to everybody. And so it was really interesting for me being at that point, 26-year-old, going onto this college campus with all girls. It was
sounds like a heartache. That sounds hard.
Yeah.
That sounds horrible.
So I got to admit this. Here's the funny thing. Like, it really did make me think, though, because I had to take a couple of the classes where I was one of the only guys. It was me and this other guy. And we would be in there by ourselves. If he wasn't there, I'm the only guy in there. And you've got all these women in there, these young ladies, and some of them are very unhappy that you're there. And it made me very aware of how women feel sometimes when they're surrounded by guys. Like, and I could, they'd ask a question and I'd want to raise my hand, and I'm like, I know the answer. Like, it was a very weird thing. I mean, I did date some of the girls as well, but it was just overall, it was.
So there were perks. I gotcha.
Yeah.
There was
but it did make me aware of things. So
yeah.
The funny part about all of this is I did not know that I actually wanted to be a teacher and that I liked teaching until I did my student teaching. When I did my student teaching, I was like, dude, this is so much fun. I get to play around and be serious. I get to teach stuff and have a good time. And like, every day is different. Everything is different. I'm constantly creating and solving problems. I was like, I loved it. So I moved up to Rochester, where I live now, and I started teaching in the city. I teach at East High School. When I started teaching here, 82% of our population was African American, and then the rest, it was Hispanic and some Asian. Now we've got a lot more Hispanic, but it's an inner city school, and one of the problems we have is it's a very high poverty area. And after I was in 2008, one of my friends came to me, and he had a student who he recognized needed glasses in October, and he talked to the family, and they couldn't afford to get the kid glasses. It's the other part of that is, if, as you guys know, if you break your glasses within a year, you're out of luck. You have to pay for a whole new pair. Like, you get your one. So this kid did not get a new pair of glasses until February. And my buddy came to me and he's like, dude, how cool would it be if high school kids were making glasses for high school kids? I said, I love the idea. That's so cool. But nobody's going to pay for that. Everybody, they just want to send kids to college. This is not college. Yeah. This is a trade. This is not what we're doing right now. He goes, if I get money, can you make it happen? I was like, of course I can. So it was, I think 3.5 years later, he was sitting. So he had a classroom with an office, just one. It was like the only one. Anyway, it doesn't matter. He's sitting in his office. A teacher walks by. An administrator walks by, stops, literally backs up and looks at him and goes, hey, we got an opportunity for a grant that was supposed to go to another school. Do you have any ideas? He says, I want to see high school kids making glasses for high school kids. She said, write it up and send it to me. And as he likes to joke, he's like, as any red-blooded American male, I had a PowerPoint made up. So he sent her a PowerPoint of all the ideas, and we got $65,000. And he came to me, he goes, hey, I got you money. Let's do this. So I started with a summer program where for 4 weeks, I taught kids. Literally, I was remembering stuff. I ordered things. I was making it up as I went. I was just remembering how to make a pair of glasses. I went and got my New York State optician license. And then I started a program with money from the state. And so, a year later, I started teaching kids where I get doctors to volunteer. So this is a long story. I'm sorry. But the brief rundown is I've got 4 years now of the program. This is the first year. We've got a fourth year. But the first year, I teach the kids to make a pair of glasses. They learn to take the measurements. They learn all the tools. And we make a pair of reading glasses at the beginning of the year just so they can sort of see what they're doing. At the end of the year, I give them a prescription. I say, okay, here's his prescription. You go do all the stuff and take the measurements and make them glasses. The second year kids, they revisit that, and then they also learn how to make bifocals and progressives for adults. We get doctors to volunteer, so the doctors will come spend time. And this coming Tuesday, I've got a doctor visit. We'll have 2 doctors come in, and over the course of 3 hours, I will see 60 kids from different schools, all of which that my students will take. They'll take the measurements, they'll do all the pre-screening, they'll help them pick out frames. And then the doctors will see them, we'll get the prescriptions, make the glasses, and then give them out. And then my third year, the big thing for them is that they do advanced stuff. We're doing tinting of lenses, a couple other things, but then they start to run. I'll have these kids run one of those clinics. Like they're fully in charge. I'm a worker.
Oh, that's cool.
They'll schedule, right. So, and then the fourth year, that was new this year, they're actually doing a job shadowing at Flom Eye Institute, which is a big place here, and they'll go to different buildings and different setups and follow along and do stuff, and it's pretty cool. So anyway, it's a lot of work. I love doing it. So when I think about retiring, it's like I can't wait to retire, but I don't want to retire.
That's an amazing program, Logan. That is amazing what you're doing.
So it sounds amazing. Well, what class? So I guess it's like 101, 102, 103, or whatever, however you name your classes. But
Vision Care 1, Vision Care 2.
Right. And which class is it that you get to go slide 1, slide 2, slide 2, slide 3, slide 3?
See, that's optometry. Thankfully, I don't make them do that. Although we do get to use the puff, the non-contact.
The worst part. Oh, I hate that.
And here it comes. And then you're like, where? Oh,
yeah. They do that on purpose. You blink when they say it's going to happen, and they get you.
Yeah.
So so I was going to ask. So do y'all make the frames, or you're only making the lenses?
So we buy the frames, which are this is actually one of the frames that we have, right?
So no BCGs then.
No birth control ones. They're nice frames. Like I make sure that the kids help pick them out. We get good styles.
Nice.
1 year the kids picked them out, and I was like, these are ugly. And the next year the kids looked at it and they're like, why do we have these frames? I was like, I don't know. But we buy stock lenses. So we're not cutting the curves in the lenses. You buy them so they've already got this is actually, I think this probably makes people angrier more than anything. So the lenses that we buy are the stock lenses, and my patients have to put the prescription, angle it, everything for the patient. Lenses cost roughly, it depends on your prescription, anywhere from $4 to $8 a pair for stock lenses.
Yeah.
Think about how much you're paying for. Now, like
hundreds.
Getting the curve, you have to have the frames. These frames cost us, I think, $9 a piece.
God,
so I have a different frame that was donated to us from a company It was just left over. They hadn't sold it, and it's one of the ones that I get for $8. They sell it for 125.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
right.
mean, I just got glasses right at the end of last year, and of course these are some Oakley frames, but it's crazy. I know what I paid for these, and I'm like, these. I think these glasses, this pair here was what, like $750 without insurance, $800
Yeah.
somewhere in there.
Goodness.
Without insurance, and then once the insurance kicks in, it's a little less, but it's amazing how much that stuff really costs and how much profit they're
Still,
making off of this
yeah.
thing.
Well,
Yeah.
one of the problems is that there's one company that controls everything, almost everything. Like there's a couple smaller companies, like one that we use, Rochester Optical. So they're their own business, but for the most part, there's one company that controls everything. The other problem is that the machinery we use, similarly to what we're using here, right? I have an edger that cuts the shape and a blocker that goes with it. Total price for that is $35,000.
Wow.
Right, and it's smaller than my CNC.
Yeah.
And you're thinking about how expensive that stuff is, so they got to be able to pay for that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of overhead. I mean, it's on anything. Wow.
Well, it sucks. It sucks.
Yeah.
Well, because they own the insurance companies, it's all one big conglomerate.
Yep.
And yeah, I look at it. My son just got new glasses, just a basic pair, $400.
Yep.
And that's with insurance. And
Yep.
this year when I got new glasses, I had some older sunglasses, and I tend to get the same exact frame every time. I was like, I found a website where I could order all new lenses for maybe a quarter of the price that the optometrist was going to charge. And it's because they're not the name brand Oakley lenses, and
Right.
that's crazy.
I mean,
But it's still amazing though, because I mean, you're able to give these glasses away to a needy child,
and that's
that's
the best
amazing.
part.
That is really nice.
So
and also,
somewhere in the neighborhood of like 6,500 pairs of glasses.
Dang. All completely free to the person.
That's so cool.
Okay, so hold on. So I got to stop you there because I do charge kids. I have one, I call it the Gladys rule. The first year that I did this girl Gladys came to me and I gave her glasses, and she came to me a week later. She goes, "Mr. Newman, I left my glasses on the bus." She's like, "They're gone." I'm like, "You know what, Gladys, I understand. I'm sorry to hear that. I'll get you another pair." "Okay, thanks." She comes to me a week later. She's like, "Mr. Newman, someone stole my glasses off the field. I was at gym and somebody stole my glasses." I was like, "Okay, someone stole your glasses?" She's like, "Yeah." I was like, "That sucks, but okay, I'll get you another pair." Next week, 6 weeks straight. Like I literally made her 6 pairs of glasses each week. And I said, "Gladys, I'm done. You want another pair? You're paying $5. You guys start paying. You guys start being responsible for them." So, so I call it the Gladys rule. And it's if a kid within, usually I try not to make it within a school year, but that's what I say it is. I'm like, if you lose or break your glasses, and not break them like here, like that breaks often enough, but if they snap them or something like that, I'll make them pay me $5. And I always say, I don't want it from the teacher, because the teacher, "Let me buy him no, I don't want it from you." That kid's got to be, it's $5 is small enough amount that they can get that, but it's enough that they go, "I had to pay money for it." So it's enough for them to recognize that it has a financial value.
Teach them responsibility for it. Yeah. Because if you pay for it, then you're apt to take care of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, before we wrap anything up, we got one more question in the chat. So if you could have any tool, if you could have a tool that you don't own now, what would it be? I don't want to paraphrase it.
Do you guys, you're talking to your spouse, you ever have the same conversation? "Well, you already have everything that you need." I don't know where.
No, I don't.
Like
I mean, mine doesn't gripe about what I buy, but
yeah, it's like
she's questioned it.
Get you. Honestly, I have almost everything I want. The only thing I don't have is a full-size bandsaw. I would like to have a bandsaw that I could resaw on. I don't know where I would put it, but that's the one thing. A bigger planer, a better planer, a bigger one. I mean, really, I think for me, the big thing would be the bandsaw.
Yeah, I love having that. The bandsaw is one of my favorite tools in the shop.
I've got the little Ryobi Rikon, the 10-inch, and it's yay tall. Yeah. Hey, listen, I can't knock it though. Matt, you saw my, I know you did, my snake tamboard. Well, God, I didn't mean to talk to Matt.
I mean, dang, he just jumped off and said, "Forget y'all."
He's like, screw that.
Bye, Mustache.
Hey, I thought I was going to be the one jumping
Yeah.
up tonight. Dang, there you go.
It's like, don't talk to me like that.
Exactly. Call me out.
I don't know if you guys saw my snake tamboard door whiskey cabinet thing I did.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. So I did that on the Rikon. So I can't complain. Like, it does well. Yeah. I mean, I cut the slats.
Nice.
I don't know.
So I've still got questions, guys.
Go for it, man.
So I've done a couple designs and stuff like that to put them online, and my hesitation of putting them online is that I have to type up how to build them, and that's literally my only hesitation.
So have you ever seen my cabinet? I don't, some people have seen it. It was another viral video. It is, I call it the cabinet because it's a table cabinet, and really it's a cabinet and a table, but cable was already used as a word, so I couldn't use that. But it has a door. It opens up as a door for a cabinet, but the door on the front lift and lock into place to be a table. And some called Memezar on Facebook shared it like a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, and it got like 40 million views. And so I've shared it. It probably has like 70 million views total, different posts. But anyway, I made plans for that. It took me about 30 hours to build it and take the pictures. And then I spent probably another 40 hours making those plans. They were 56 pages long.
Wow.
I originally sold them for $20 a piece. Thanksgiving, I dropped them down to 15 because they sold. I have sold thousands of dollars worth of those plans.
Wow.
Like literally, I mean, I have sold thousands. I would probably say at least 1,000 copies of those plans at the very least. So, it's like, if you don't do it, you might be missing out on a lot.
Yeah. I just have a hard time with the whole typing it all up. And I mean, I do a cut sheet. I do all of your cuts and exactly when to cut it, when to do everything, how to cut it out to get the best spacing on your plywood.
Yeah.
I do all of that, but then it's like I got to go through the assembly. I got to go through, and that's the part that's a lot.
Right. And that is the worst. And that's the thing that I think holds everyone up, because the other part of it is, well, what if I miss a step? What if I forgot to do this? What if I, and with mine, I went through, and not only did I write out each step, I also gave options. Like, okay, if you can do it this way, or you can do it that way, So I think the biggest thing, and I'm a big fan of the cut list optimizer as well, because that's right. First, that's a free way to do it, but including that and saying, this is, if you wanted to go to the home store and have them cut this out of plywood for you, this is the way to set it up. And I set it up so that you could actually cut a 4x8 sheet of plywood into 3 sections there and cut out everything at home easily. But the big part, like you said, is you need to sit down and look at it and go, okay, this is my suggestion, because this is how I do it. I write out my list of steps first.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. This is also similar. If I'm doing a lesson plan for a class, it's not dissimilar to that, right? I'm going to write out, here's my first thing I'm going to do. Here's the second thing. Okay. And then when you get back to it, you're like, all right, what things do I need to know? What do I need to know here? And actually for that book, I sent them the plans for the flattening jig, and they told me I have too much information in there. Like you included too much. We need to narrow it down. because
Wow.
it's a book. They're going to
Yeah.
do
Yeah,
Uh,
keep it simple.
right. So, and that's the other part. So I love that you just said those words, Matt, because that's so important, right? So you go through, you make it. Here's this part. Here's this part. Here's this part. Then you need to look back at it and go, okay, how can I make it simpler so
Yeah.
it's less confusing, right? Because I know what it looks like when I say match part A to match part B. I know exactly what I'm saying, but that person reading it, and this was always my problem. And I tried. I bought plans from somebody once. And I looked at them and I just got lost. I got so confused trying to read the plans, right?
Yeah.
So you go back to it and look at it. Okay, I know what I'm saying. If someone else reads it, how can I make it simpler for them?
The way that I did it
How
to make
about
it simpler for me is I designed mine, right? And then I had my wife read it, who doesn't do it.
oh,
Right.
that's a good
And then-
idea.
And then she went through it, and then she was like, if you said this, is this what you're trying to say? And I'm like, yeah. Then she's like, well, then maybe you should say it like this. So I understand it. And it's like, So
I always heard if you're writing instructions, write them like you're trying to teach a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
And
Well,
how about a video? How about a video to send along with that when they buy it? Like kind of an instructional video where they're actually seeing. I know it's more work, but with that, I've never done a set of plans. I've thought about it, and then I've talked to Matt because I know I read Matt's plans when he first did it, and it's a lot of work and it's very detailed. I think it was great, right? But I'm like, I'm more of a visual person because I could sit there and read, and then I just kind of get like, I don't want to read no more. I like to watch. When I watch stuff, then it just sticks. I don't know what it is about me, but that's just like how I operate. I could see things and I could see it once and I know, okay, I got it. I don't need to read anything. I know that's more work, but I don't know.
The problem, I think the problem for me with doing those, and Matt, maybe you'll agree, is the amount of work doing it that way is number one. There's that, right? So I had a video that I did for my this lengthwise folding table, and the video itself, I would sit down at night and I would edit it, and before I did any voiceover, the video was an hour long, and I was editing it every single night. I have a video right now for that cabinet. I have a full-length YouTube video that I want to do. I just don't want to finish editing it because it's so much freaking work.
Yes.
That's what I hate. And then the other part is if I make the video, people like you are going to be like, well, now I can watch it. I don't need to buy the plans.
Yeah.
Well, no, you have to buy the plans to get it. No, I'm not saying putting it out on YouTube. I'm saying when you buy these set of plans, you're getting this video file with it. That's what you get with it.
You could always do a private video.
So what I did is I did the video, okay, but in my video I made sure I didn't call out any measurements. I didn't call out anything that you could use in the video to make it. I was showing you how to use it, and then in the plans I actually had timestamps in the plans so that way you'd go back and go, okay, now this is a 3-inch measurement, and this is this, and this is this, and this is how he's cutting it. He's ripping on his. That way,
you have that,
and literally that made it even harder. Not even gonna lie, that made it even harder.
I'd love to have.
I'd
love.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry. No, I was just saying I'd love to have an hour to, when I'm shooting my YouTube videos, trying to compress everything down to 10 freaking minutes from a couple of hours worth of footage to have an hour. That's wonderful. But I mean, I'm just saying, putting it out there with the download when you get that plan, I don't know. I think that kind of shies me away from buying stuff sometimes. I have bought some, but it's like, like you said, you get lost in some of them. It's like,
when I shot the video, it was before I learned that you cut off every once in a while. You turn off your camera, and I had like 80, 90 hours worth of video.
Oh my God.
Some of it just me walking around
Good
the shop
grief.
going, measuring stuff. And I went, yeah, oh my
Well,
God.
I like the new iPhone camera where you can pause the camera. You
What?
guys have no idea what I'm talking about now.
No.
No.
I don't have an iPhone, so no.
Oh my God. So when you're recording on the iPhone, right, let's see if I can show you, right? So you guys can see, like, I'm recording right now,
Mhm.
Yep.
right down
Yeah.
here.
Pause button. Oh,
Yeah.
I've never seen that.
Yeah, it's a pause button. So you can pause the recording as you're recording if you're recording on your phone, which I do.
Yeah,
So-
they've had that with Android forever.
Anyways,
So,
so here's the question: it keeps it all as one clip?
yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
So
that is
which is the
amazing.
pause button?
It's
Do
right
you-
next to the video
pause
button.
the recording,
Yeah,
and it'll
that's-
save. But if your phone goes to sleep, it'll stop the recording. It'll save what you already
Yeah.
did,
Okay.
but it'll start over again. So that's helpful. I'm thinking too, what might be a neat way to do it. Everybody's looking at their phone like, can I do that now?
Yeah.
Good. Pause.
Are you-
Yes, the androids.
I think on my plans, maybe what I'll do if I start doing videos, I'm going to give them code words like Snuffalunka.
Snuffleupagus.
What the hell is the name?
I can't say because I'm laughing now. Snuffleupagus.
I still can't say it.
Yeah.
Big Bird. By God, Big Bird. I can spell that.
Insert part Bert into part Ernie, and
That's yeah.
Oh,
Oh, hello.
let's not go there.
Tickle me Elmo. Yeah.
Yeah.
God.
You
And
just have
that's
to-
our
you
show tonight.
You just have to. Yeah. We just got banned. You just gotta keep on going with it. You
We're at
don't
an
know.
hour 36 now. I know where to clip some stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. We're
So
gonna cut it here, Matt.
Let's change it. Let's change it a little bit since we're talking about this stuff. I want to talk about your lasers. You said you had two different ones, right? You have a Mira.
I've got the
uh,
Eon Mira 7, which is a 60 watt, and I've got a diode.
So you've got the same Eon that I've got.
It's beautiful. I love that thing.
Oh.
I got the red
Tell us
one.
about it.
Oh, you've got the newer
Yeah.
one then.
It is so like 20. Hello. It's always funny when puberty hits in the middle of a conversation.
Yeah.
I think 2024 was like the year of the laser. I got a 5-watt laser, and then I moved up to a 10-watt. Maybe that was 23, and then I got the 20-watt diode, and that's when I started, really being able to make and sell some jigs with it and templates, and it's amazing. You can do a lot with it, but you can't do clear acrylic. It's got, its limitations with the diodes. And I really wanted to, I wanted to up my game with my acrylic or with my templates that I was selling. And it made sense to me. So the 60-watt red line is just freaking incredible. What's really cool to me still, like I know very little about about CO2 lasers.
Mhm.
But one of the things I do know is it's always a pain, and I've heard people say this for years, how hard it is to change the lenses and clean them and changing the tubes. The red lines, it's all magnetic, and there's no tools. So for me to change the lens or clean it, I literally just pull it out, and there's little like gaskets that hold. I just need to make sure there's a hole. I have a little air pump it clean, put it back in, and I'm like done cleaning it in a matter of seconds. It's absolutely amazing. So that by itself is cool, but how fast it can go. Oh,
Yeah, that's what I love about
night
it.
and day difference, huh? When you get to that CO2, it's amazing.
oh God, especially watching it cut the acrylic. It's so neat watching it just go, all right, I'm done.
Yep.
Thanks for coming by.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it like I started venturing into doing acrylic stuff with this one, and this one's a little tougher. It's not magnetic, so to clean stuff, it's not difficult. It just takes some time.
Yeah.
But once they're dialed in, I mean, they're amazing machines. You can the versatility to have, especially if you have a CNC and this,
Yeah.
It's just so cool. The
Yeah.
things you can make with them.
I still want to set up. I have not yet done tumblers. I need to set up the rotary on it, and I really want to. There's been a table taking up my life, and I gotta get.
And that was the thing with this is an Ohm Tech 80 watt, right? And when I purchased a machine, they said this is the rotary that you need will work, right? And I received the machine and got it set up, got it tuned up, and started just doing some basic stuff, messing around with flat material. And I said, I want to do a tumbler. And with this machine, you have to disconnect the X-axis, I believe, and you plug in the rotary. But the table didn't move low enough. When you set the rotary on the honeycomb, it would not go down far enough to be able to get it under the laser head to do a tumbler, right? So I had to go in, and I had some aluminum, and I created a table on the chute where your material falls through the honeycomb, and I created another aluminum table. So I got to take the honeycomb out to set that on there to be able to do tumblers. And that, of course, that thing literally went right back in the box after I did one tumbler. And I think that's where my whole deal started with putting stuff in the box, because I'm just going to give these guys a laugh.
This tool in a box
because he's,
What's in the box?
I know he's already going to try to cut my throat with it. So I didn't let him.
It's this tool in a box.
So I would maybe one day, I mean, this still does what it needs to do for me, but it would be nice maybe to go with something that's, a little more advanced technology, like the, magnet lenses and stuff like that. That's pretty nice feature,
So I have, like I said, I haven't done the tumbler yet, but I know that I have to take everything out, but to put it on the tray in the bottom. But you just need to plug it in and change a setting, and then that's the setup that you need for that.
Yeah,
I think
this one's not as easy. Yeah.
Last time I did a tumbler, I was up and running to cut tumblers in 5 minutes, and then I spent hours trying to figure out what to do it, and still had.
I do them on my diode.
Tumbler.
I do them on the diode.
I know people that do it. Yeah,
it takes forever, but it works.
Well, with my diode, the one design that I did was probably about 8 minutes per tumbler, and I know it'll be much faster here. The other cool thing, so two things. Number one, with the Eon, they've got this now super tumbler setup that you can do, I think, 8. Byron, you've seen those, right?
Oh yeah.
It's like 8 at a time. You can do it, and it'll rotate all of them, and so you can just do that, which is I love. But originally, I was looking at the Thunder Laser, and I was looking at getting theirs. And two things turned me off from that. Was one, that it had a smaller cutting area than this does. And the other thing was that I looked at a video to set up. This was the thing that killed me, to set up the tumbler setup, the rotary. Exactly what you were saying, Joey. Like, not only did you have to remove everything, it had to clip into it in a specific place. And then you had to it was just the weirdest thing watching this video and talking about, once I watch a video, I can see it. I watched the video. I was lost. I'm like, I have no clue what is going on here. This just looks confusing. I was like, I'm done. I don't want to deal with this. If it's this hard, it's not worth doing. Yeah,
that little diode I have, it does a real good job. That company sent that for me to try out, and it does a good job on a tumbler. It's just real slow, and it's like if I had to make some modifications for it to, be high enough and all that good jazz. But it does a good job. It's just slow, and I really don't. I've had people reach out to me, and they're like, "Hey, can you make me some tumblers?" Absolutely not. I'll send them to somebody else. I'm not messing with it, but
I'll do it.
Matt will do it. Mustache will do it. So, anything else? Anybody else got anything? we
Well,
wrap this up.
I think we could stay on all night, but I think we need to wrap it up for the
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of us got to work tomorrow and it's early.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I
Well-
don't have to get up at 6:30.
I gotta. I'll be up at 5, so
Oh God, no.
Oh.
I'm used to it now. Though it's because you don't sleep.
Oh, no.
Because he doesn't
No.
sleep.
I don't sleep.
Doesn't sleep at all. But anyhow, Logan, thank you very much for hanging out. It was a pleasure. Very interesting information that you were putting out there. Really,
I think
loved it.
it's great what you're doing with the glasses.
Yeah.
thing. I think it's
Yes.
awesome.
Yeah,
I think it's amazing.
that
That's awesome.
that is real neat.
Well,
Real neat.
I really I appreciate you guys having me on here. It's different for me. I'm not used to talking about myself that much.
Hey, but
feel
it's,
like
it's great.
Yeah.
Have to give you that opportunity. It's fun. I mean, it's interesting meeting other people and hearing their story. Just like your show, it's great.
Yeah.
You bring folks on and they get to talk about, their thing and how they came about to doing what they're doing. So it's always a pleasure. It's fun. That's a neat part of this.
I love this, the setup for you guys with everybody on here, and it's so great hearing the different conversations and the different stories from everyone. And it's weird, and if you don't mind me saying this, I like made this choice when I was thinking about mine. I know who I would have as a partner if I did this, but I wanted to really be able to just be, first of all, since I was doing Instagram Live, having a mass of people on one screen does not work out.
Oh, yeah.
And I really wanted to focus on that one person. And I don't know, you really make me rethink my life decisions.
Well, it was interesting. We've kind of changed the format of this up. It's always revolving, right? You find better things to do, and this is fun. We love doing it. I love bringing people on and getting to chat with them, getting to know them. And I mean, we've talked about streaming to other platforms. This is what we like, YouTube, going to our Facebooks.
Yeah.
I know it can go to Instagram. We still haven't tackled that part of it to see, but again, you got to have enough people helping out because that like here, we can't see what's getting commented on certain other things. And if you don't have that interaction, people just shy away. And you got to have people helping you to interact with those individuals when they're out there, so they don't feel like they're just talking to themselves,
Right.
But it's fun. It's always good to hear all these interesting things that y'all do. I mean, that deal with the eyeglasses is amazing. That is something that is pretty damn cool. I mean, to help people out like that,
I'm very proud of it. I really am.
You should be.
You should
Yeah.
be. Yeah.
You should be.
You should be. By God, we knew when we were young, we couldn't afford a whole lot of things. Our parents couldn't. It was, different times way back then. So I know the feeling, but anyhow, thank you, sir. It was a pleasure. Thanks everybody for hanging out with us tonight. Please remember to head on over to Spotify, all the other platforms. Leave us a review, leave us a comment. We're still trying to figure out how to bring those up.
This will be live in 2 weeks. So you'll be able to check this thing out live in 2 weeks.
And I think we're going to be able to make 2 parts out of this. So this is going to be a good one. Be long enough to get two out of it. So maybe figure it out. But next week we have Casey on the podcast. So we'll be same time, same place, same beautiful faces. And anybody else got any parting words? Head on over to patreon.com/Creative Makers Podcast. Have a look at that. And remember, June 8th is coming up quickly. We've got some good companies involved in the giveaway. It's going to be a live giveaway. You have to be present and all that good jazz. So till next Sunday, thank y'all. And we're out of here.